when we remember what God has done in our lives, there's so many keys that God has given us that we don't really understand how powerful it is to remember who he's been and who he
Yeah,
is to us and who he will always be, because he's the same yesterday, today, and forever.
that's right.
And so a lot of the times, weariness, bitterness, all the things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis from running a long race, sometimes when we just take a moment and go, God, this is who you've been, and you
Mm.
begin to meditate and you begin to remember all the Lord has done, all of a sudden your heart starts to get really stirred, and there's joy. There's things happen in the realm of the spirit that otherwise would not be unlocked if it does not come through gratitude and thanksgiving. And of course, this is a season where we're like, okay, Thanksgiving, but this isn't just a Thanksgiving message. This is how we're to live our life
Yeah,
every
that's
single
good.
day, remembering who he's been to us.
Mm.
So many things that he's delivered us from, Jeff. I know you've got not just one book, you've got many books and
Yeah.
many books of what God has done for you. But everybody that's listening right now too, and that's watching, when you just take a step back and begin to remember and meditate what God has done for you, all of a sudden something breaks. Even the scriptures tell us to enter into his courts with thanksgiving and praise. It's Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving for what? Thanksgiving for all he's done, for
Mhm.
who he's been. And when you couldn't provide for your children or you couldn't provide for your family, he showed up as provider. That when you couldn't pay those bills, all of a sudden that bill got paid. You don't even know how. And he showed himself as
Yeah.
Jehovah Jireh.
Hmm.
That when you needed a healing in your body or you needed him to touch you, that he showed up as Jehovah Rapha. So he is whoever we need him to be in every given moment of life, but we must remember who he's been to us. So
Mm.
that's just been
Wow.
it's been the meditation of my heart. Who has he been? Who has he been to me? Because he's revealing himself to me in a new way today that I didn't see yesterday.
Yeah, that's so
But I can
good.
always remember who he's been yesterday.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, it's crazy, Christina, because we talked a little bit behind backstage before the show, and I was talking about kind of something very similar to this. I think, like, you go through hard things, and then I think you can kind of get tunnel vision too. And it's
Yeah.
like that, like how David, I always go back to like in the Psalms when David would encourage himself in the Lord. And, he would maybe start it out, writing a psalm, and he'd be like very weary. And then he would say, but, and then he would, it was like he would just remind himself of all the things that God had done. And it was funny because, not in a ha-ha way, but during the summer, I would say Satan was really like getting me hard about, like, he was like, you don't have any, you never walked through anything hard. Like, it's funny because like
Yeah.
I totally have, and
Yeah,
so I was like,
exactly.
but it's funny how like even a lie can sound like truth sometimes when you're really under fire. All of a sudden, Satan just knows exactly how to say something at the right time, and he can
That's
say
right.
something to you, but it's nothing new, right? Like, he always
That's
tries the
right.
same things, but he'll come in and he'll be like, you never gone through anything hard like so-and-so or like so-and-so. And I was just like, oh, this is so stupid. Like, and
Wow.
so then I started like going through all these different things, and over the my wife's and my anniversaries in June. And so we were up in the Portland metro area, and we had lived up there for a short while. It was probably one of the toughest seasons of our lives
Wow.
um, to date, I would say. And we were both just praising the Lord over like what he'd walked us through. Because even for me, when I was up there, really went through like a dark time of God really rooting some certain things out of me. It felt like a
Mm.
dark time. I think sometimes when you're in it and then you look back and you're like, I can see every spot that God
Yeah.
was with me.
Yes. Yes.
And really realizing, and I've talked about this a lot on the show, but like even rooting out a lot of progressive theology that had found its way into
Wow.
my life at that
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
and really realizing, I was so focused on like, God, I cannot believe that I let that kind of become a part of, like I took that on,
Yeah.
that theology on. And but really being able to see, and it's very clear this summer when we were up there, just driving around. I was just like, look at what God has done in our lives. Like,
Wow.
this is amazing. And so, yeah, I think that can be also an encouragement to people who are going through something really tough right now, that God is, I can tell you 10 out of 10 times, I can look back at that and sometimes even having the grace to be able to see it in the moment when I'm going through something difficult, but I can point to every single spot where God protected me, where he was with me, even when in those moments when I didn't feel like it. I know, Cristina, you can do the same thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's huge.